Dear parents, please stand for the graduates procession. Kindly be seated. Thank you. Dear parents and graduates, please stand for the academic procession.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the national anthem of Malaysia, followed by the national anthem of Australia. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, I now present to you the Deputy Chancellor of Monash University, the Honorable Peter Young, who will open this graduation ceremony.
Good afternoon. Graduates and guests, our guest speaker, Dato Dr. Rosalie Watuth, President and Vice-Chancellor Margaret Gardner, Member of Monash University Council, the Honourable Simon Crean, President and Pro-Vice-Chancellor of Monash University Malaysia, Professor Andrew Walker, distinguished visitors, members of faculty, it is my pleasure to welcome you on behalf of the Council of Monash University to this, the 1162nd graduation ceremony of Monash University. With those few words, I now call upon the President and Vice-Chancellor, Professor Margaret Gardner, to address this graduation assembly.
Deputy Chancellor, the Honourable Simon Crean, Member of Monash University Council, our distinguished guest speaker, Dato Dr. Rosalie Watuth, Professor Andrew Walker, President of the Monash Malaysia campus, distinguished guests, most importantly of all, graduands, those who are sitting in front of me to graduate today, along with your family and friends. Some years ago, how many doesn't matter, you arrived at this university for the first time. You may have arrived on that first day very clear of mind about what you wanted, or you may have come with fewer expectations, open as to whether you were in the right place or whether indeed this was the right degree for you. Some of you have continued to be single-minded in the pursuit of a particular career since that first day, and you may have already begun it. Some of you have discovered that there is a different career that suits you more than the one you initially expected awaited you, and others of you may be exploring the range of opportunities that open once you have completed your degree. No matter what your journey to be here today, and no matter where it takes you next, for all of you, this journey will define you in very important ways, and it will continue to define you. Talent is essential to enter Monash, but talent alone is not sufficient to bring you here to this ceremony today. For that, you need the added qualities of discipline, persistence, and very sustained endeavour. We hope in that time of sustained endeavour that we've nurtured in you the love of discovery that's expressed in the university's motto, Ancora imparo. Those Italian words, which have been attributed to Michelangelo, translate as, I am still learning. We also hope we've fostered in you an openness of mind, accepting that your opinions and your preconceptions can and should be challenged. And we hope an openness to the world, embracing the diversity of views and ideas and experiences of your fellow students and the staff, or experiences that you may have gained through the course of your education, whether that's in placements in the world of work or at other campuses and other places around the world. Monash awards degrees that recognise those qualities, that love of learning, that openness of mind to new ideas, to challenge, and to the world around you, because out of that comes the creativity and independence that you will exercise in your lives. That recognition that a Monash degree brings to those qualities shouldn't be viewed lightly. This university works hard at performing at excellent standards, and that is recognised in its reputation and its rankings, which place it firmly among the top 100 universities in the world. And that is a reputation that has been built in a very short time, because Monash only took its first students in 1961. While that may seem a long time ago to some of the graduates here, in university time, that's a very short time ago. Only a handful of other universities around the world have been able to have a performance and therefore a reputation that is within the top 100 for excellence in that shorter time as a university that is so newly upon the university world. The reach and influence of the Monash community nurtured in that excellence has expanded considerably over the years, and now you will join the more than 380,000 Monash alumni that there are across the world. And Monash Malaysia has played a key role in that expansion of Monash, its ideas, its internationalism, its reach. Last year, the Monash Malaysia campus celebrated its 20th anniversary, so it's even younger than the whole university. And in that short time, there's been much to boast about. Monash was the first international branch campus to be established as a private university in Malaysia. It is still growing. It has 7 schools and more than 8,000 students who are drawn from more than 70 different countries. It has strengths, attested strengths in advanced engineering, in tropical biology and medicine, in genomics, in health sciences and market analytics. It also is home to a world-class brain institute and a public health surveillance centre, the Southeast Asian Community Observatory. This, while a new campus, is an excellent campus. It is part of an internationally high-quality university. And along with Monash's campuses in Australia and India and China and its centre in Italy and the alliances it has with universities around the world, it is that excellence that is both supported and fostered. So whether your career keeps you here, takes you to Australia, elsewhere in Asia, Europe or the Americas, when you meet employers or clients or other professional contacts, indeed, even in social events, it's highly likely that you'll meet another Monash alumni because they are spread around the world, and this is a valuable and important network with which you can engage and which will nurture you as you work through your future life. You were educated in a university that's prepared you to work successfully in global teams and in global environments, and this is very much the future. This internationalism in the education and the research of Monash enables us to collaborate with others worldwide. It enables our education and our research to be informed by a truly international perspective that is not a free-floating international perspective, but a perspective that is grounded in the diversity that comes from understanding the different cultures, needs and aspirations of cultures around the world. And we are committed in both our education and research to giving expression to that internationalism, but also to taking the excellence of that education and research and turning it to positive impact in the world. We are most concerned that our research has really tangible impact. And to give you some examples, we're currently engaged in a very large project which is transforming urban slums, 24 of them in Indonesia and Fiji. It's called the RISE project. It's leveraging research that is based in engineering, in the environment, in epidemiology, in public health, in architecture and design. It's looking at new ways to provide clean water and sanitation in disadvantaged in slums that will otherwise not easily get clean water, and in the way of transforming those communities to provide that clean water, also monitoring and supporting those communities to therefore improve the health of those communities, therefore averting things like this antimicrobial resistance that tends to build up where people are constantly being treated for the outcomes of dealing with unclean water. These sorts of projects are projects that draw on excellent research, but they're projects that work with other communities, with other organisations, that draw on our students and take that research into models that can then be spread to other places. And that particular project, which is funded philanthropically by the Wellcome Trust, has the target of in fact, affecting the lives of more than 1 billion people who live in those urban settlements, those slum settlements globally. The World Mosquito Program, also Monash research, uses bacteria that reduces mosquitoes' ability to pass vector-borne diseases such as dengue and Zika. That project has taken that research and is now deploying that research across Asia, Latin America and the Pacific, and is now on track to protect more than 100 people worldwide from those very serious diseases which have a serious impact on communities right across the world. Those projects and numerous others like them across every faculty and every discipline in the university rely on excellent researchers. You actually have to have excellent researchers to do the work to take you to that point. But that is not where they stop. They actually rely on working with supporting organisations, whether they're NGOs or government or industry, in order to implement those ideas and to make an impact. And they draw in our students, whether they're PhDs or postgrads or undergrads, to be part of the sort of research that will make a difference. What they are fundamentally driven by is not just the aspiration to be excellent. We do aspire to be excellent, but we aspire to be excellent so that we can make a positive impact. And that is what we hope the advantage of your Monash degree is, that it builds on the excellence you have given and that you are able to make a positive impact. And to give you an example of why the university might hold that very close to its heart, let me just take you to a small historical aside. This university is named after a person. Indeed, it was the first Australian university ever to be named after a person and not a place. The man after whom this institution was named, Sir John Monash, served in many roles. He was an engineer, a proponent of the arts, a lawyer. He was a military leader. He was actually a civilian military leader, and he was hailed among the finest generals of what was really a terrible war, which was the First World War. And he was hailed not just for his battle-winning abilities as a general, but because he did them with very low loss of life in a war that was absolutely rife with high loss of life. He was also a public servant. He actually drove the complete electrification of the state where the university is located. He was an innovator, an entrepreneur and businessman, and a community leader. His funeral, which happened 3 decades before Monash University opened its doors in 1961, his funeral in the 1930s drew 300,000 mourners to the streets of Melbourne, when Melbourne was a city with less than 1 million people. So why did so many people turn out for the funeral of this man? Well, yes, they turned out in part for his military accomplishments, which was significant, and for his career, which was worthy of admiration. But most of all, they turned out to celebrate the contributions he had made and the sacrifices he had made to the lives of others around him. He had devoted himself in those ways for the benefit of others. They celebrated him for confronting head-on the challenges that faced the community in which he lived and using his expertise and persistence and courage to change them. That is the sort of person that was admired. For you, coming decades will have their own challenges. We can see some of them rather too clearly now, but others of them we can only conceive. We also can't see all the opportunities that will be before you as well. We believe your Monash degree marks you out as singularly capable, of seizing those opportunities before you, but also meeting those challenges that might come. We hope you'll question the way things are and why they are the way they are, that you will have the courage to change the way things are if they need to be changed, and that you will persist, sometimes in the face of disappointment, sometimes because achievements for the good take considerable time and often the support of many others. I hope that you leave Monash confident that you're ready to do all those things, that you are ready to seize those opportunities and to meet those challenges with that sort of courage and persistence and openness to what you can do in the world. And I hope you also take with you rich experiences, enduring friendships and long-lasting memories that sustain you while you do so. And finally, I'd say this. In your life, you have to find times when you stop and take stock and actually enjoy the achievements that you've made. This is one of those days. This is one of those days when you get to celebrate the achievement, and you should do so. Enjoy, be happy, celebrate. My congratulations to all of you. Mr. Deputy Chancellor, I certify to you and to the Council of Monash University that all candidates now to be presented and those others listed in your copy of the graduation program have fulfilled the conditions prescribed by the Council of Monash University for admission to the degrees and for award of the diplomas indicated in that program. Would all candidates for degrees and diplomas of the Faculty of Arts, Faculty of Education, Faculty of Medicine, Nursing and Health Sciences, Faculty of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences and the Faculty of Science please stand?
Graduates, with the authority of Council, I admit you to the degrees and award the diplomas to which you are all entitled. I also admit to the degrees and award the diplomas to which those others are entitled who are absent today but are listed in my signed copy of the graduation program. So graduates, as you now are, this moment marks a very important milestone in your lives. This ceremony is the visible culmination of your hard work, your commitment, your effort, your study. Your achievements are outstanding. You should look back on this moment with great satisfaction and pride. May I personally congratulate you and congratulate you on behalf of the whole of the university and the teaching faculty. I ask that the members of audience, your family, friends and those with you today join with us here on stage in congratulating you with a round of applause and to mark your great achievements.
Please be seated. Deputy Chancellor, I now call upon Professor Helen Nezadorai, Head of the School of Arts and Social Sciences, Monash University, Malaysia.
Mr. Deputy Chancellor, all the graduates now to be presented to you will be greeted by Professor Andrew Walker, President and Pro-Vice Chancellor of Monash University, Malaysia. Mr. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you graduates from the Faculty of Arts and the Faculty of Education who have been admitted to the following degrees and awarded the following diplomas today. Faculty of Arts, Bachelor of Arts, Sajad Askari. Bachelor of Arts Global. The overall best graduate in the course for the degree of Bachelor of Arts Global 2018 is Saima Islam. Bachelor of Arts, Social Sciences, Audrey Sita Isaac. Bae Hyun Ho. Patrick Nithyaraj Joseph. Ryan Shah Rashid. Bachelor of Arts and Social Sciences, Fatin Norafrina Abdul Fattah. Aznir Ahmad Murad. Samantha Anand. Nor Maisara Arifin. Athira Humaira Azman. Fatima Yusuf Bahimia. Samantha Felicia Bernard Stanislaus. Wilson Chia Siang Shen. Gianna De Souza. Wanakuwata Waduge Harini Priscilla Fernando. Elizabeth Louise Gerard. Gada Alaildin Muhammad Alian. Neelam Tanvi Gokul Singh. Daniel Yusuf Khairul Ridwan. Xiao Chuan Ku. Susan Lai. Daphne Lo Wei Ing. Kento Mase. Maisara Muhammad Yusuf. Gina Nikki Mohinani. Ng Jia Yi. Ng Kai Zi. Nicole Ng Chui Yu. Alia Zulaika Nur Adlan. Alvin Ong Ji Xian. Anthea Ong Jing Yung. Julia Lee Yen Ong. Adiva Rahmasanti. Xiao E Kin Zain Ryan. Ananya Sri Kumar. Muhammad Zubair Awam Suhaimi. Daryl Tam Zi Wen. Tan Jasmine. Tasha Shifa Sakina Banes. Kano Terada. Lancelot John Tessera. Wong Man Kei. Samantha Wong Suk Hwa. Bachelor of Communication, Ethel Tan Jade. Bachelor of Communications, Mihiri De Silva. Bachelor of Communication and Media Studies, Chai K. Lei. Joshua Wisely. Lian Lee Lin Ai. Ling Chia Chia. Afra Noire. Tang Ching Yi. Master of Communications and Media Studies, Chai Xiao Hong. Agatha Cindy Karina. Anika Anjume Khan. Ibrahim Muhammad Tajuddin. The overall best graduate in the course for the degree of Master of Communications and Media Studies is Rebecca Muipei Earn. Jocelyn Ong Shi Hui. Tan Jun Ji. Ji Wei Tan. Yap Yung Jian. Master of International Relations, Putu Odika Bayu Pratama. Doctor of Philosophy. For research titled Space, Identity and Foodscapes in the Coffee Houses of Georgetown, Penang, Malaysia, Dr. Mei Ting Bei. For research titled Modernity and Private Bereavement Organizations, an ethnographic study of death spaces and practices in the Klang Valley, Dr. Corinne Lim. For research titled Love Teams in 1970s Philippines Cinema, Dr. Krishandra Sebastian Pillay. For research titled Understanding Indonesian Media Policy, the Role of Social Media During the 2014 Indonesian Presidential Election, Dr. Sulistianto. Faculty of Education, Bachelor of Early Childhood Studies, Nur Asmadiah binti Asman. Bachelor of Education in Early Childhood, Nur Faiza binti Abdul Hafiz. Irdina binti Zainal. Chon Jin Hui Iris. Sangeeta Subramaniam. Ting Zin Ying. Master of Counseling, Ian Ong. San Hoi Ling. Anthony Tan Boon Tiong. Tek Gyok Yi. Master of Education, Deborah Angelina Giovanni Sihotang. Master of Education in Early Childhood Education, Yulia Hidayati. Fatima Rahma. Master of Education in Educational Leadership and Policy, Maslina Mohammad Jalani. Master of Professional Counseling, Cheng Eng Hui. Cheong Wai Man. Go Jia Yun. The overall best graduate in the course for the degree of Master of Professional Counseling is June Go Chui Lin. Hugh N. Yi. Sivayeni Kandeya. Yun Han Lim. Pei Jia Yi. Cassandra Rani Peter. Amanda Yuli Kwa. Shahira Sahul Hamid. Sia Lin Yao. Shamila Silvaraja. Sun Ying Zi. Christina Tan Ye Rui. Tan Hui Xian. Su Kai Yen. Wong Zi Kiat, Yang Chiao Shuang, Wai Luen Yip, Master of Tessol, Khairul Azmi, Julie Yanti Damanik, Nur Hamsi Deswila, Yogi Saputra Mahmud, Dodi Vidyananda, Indra Dwi Prasetyo, Sabarudin, Mr. Deputy Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of graduates from the Faculty of Arts and the Faculty of Education. Mr. Deputy Chancellor, graduates from the Faculty of Medicine, Nursing and Health Sciences will be presented to you by Professor Shah Jahan Yassin, Head of the Jeffrey Chia School of Medicine, Nursing and Health Sciences, Monash University, Malaysia.
Mr. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you graduates from the Faculty of Medicine, Nursing and Health Sciences who have been admitted to the following degrees and awarded the following diplomas. Faculty of Medicine, Nursing and Health Sciences, Bachelor of Medical Science Honours, Roshan Maniam. Nehru Nagalingam. Alex Keng Yu O. Julia Sabrina Vashti. Bachelor of Psychological Science, Nadia binti Abdul Razak. Ao Yong Yu Yun. Chan Chen Nam. Jin Weng Chang. Chong Feng Sun William. Overall best graduate in the course for the degree of Bachelor of Psychological Science, Jia Yin Chong. Chong Man Tik. Brian Chai, Ruth Lee Weng Si, Lim Kai Ji, Melinda and Shalini, Nadra Shaswana binti Zakaria, Yi Chi Ng, Zin Lee Ong, Law Chi Pang, Mukunda Dura Nisali Pamudi Pereira, Tang Zi Lin, Yi Fen Yap, Bachelor of Psychological Sciences and Business, Jojo Yin Ying Chia, Cheng Pei Wen, Chong Kai Yu, Chung Shu Teng, Nisha Gopinath Menon, Penelope Lim Yun Wen, Yan Jun Lo, Nathaniel Franz Christian, Melissa Neo Chin Yi, Sia Pin Hao, Aina Sabrina binti Suhaimi, Tanjia Sheng, Tan Kenshin, Tan Lid Hao, Harvina Kumar V. Udaya Kumar, Jennifer Key N. Wong, Wong Jia E. Natalie, and Wang Wei Yan. Master of Public Health, Kurnia Pujiati. Doctor of Philosophy for research titled Perturbation of Cell-Cell and Cell Micromolecule Interactions and their associated signaling cascades by biodegradable nanoparticularized delivery of siRNA and study of consequential chemosensitization of breast cancer. Dr. Maira Afzal Ashai. For research titled Neuroprotective Effect of Embelin in Experimental Models of Alzheimer's Disease, Dr. B. Satyavani Bovendran Pillai. For research titled Role of Ring Finger Protein 38 in Social Defeat of Nile Tilapia Oreochromis niloticus, Dr. Cham Kai Lin. For research titled A Study on Coronary Intervention Door to Balloon Time and Myocardial Infarction Outcomes, Quantitative Evidence Synthesis and Patient-Level Data Analysis, Dr. Fu Chi Yong. For research titled Pharmacological Evaluation of Embelin in Epilepsy-Induced Cognitive Impairment in Zebrafish, Dr. Uday Praful Kunda. For research titled Clinical and Economic Evaluation of Anticoagulant Intervention for Stroke Prevention in Patients with Atrial Fibrillation, Dr. Shiok Shen Ng. For research titled Evaluation of Neuroprotective Activity of Standardized Ethanolic Orthosiphon Stamenous extract to ameliorate cognitive alterations in Alzheimer's disease, Dr. Tavina Rettinasamy. For research title, Habenula Kisspeptin Suppressed Morphine-Mediated Fear Memory Consolidation, Dr. Maheswari Sivalingam. For research title, Zinc Oxide Nanoparticle-Induced Necrotic Cell Death and Energy Depletion in SHSY5Y Cells, Dr. J. Sen Tan. Mr. Deputy Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of graduates from the Faculty of Medicine, Nursing and Health Sciences. Mr. Deputy Chancellor, graduates from the Faculty of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences will be presented to you by Professor Gan Siu Hua, Interim Head of School of Pharmacy, Monash University, Malaysia.
Madam Deputy Chancellor, I present to you graduates from the Faculty of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences who have been admitted to the following degrees and awarded the following diplomas today. Bachelor of Pharmacy, Lu Yan San. Amalina binti Muhammad Lazim. Mr. Deputy Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of graduates from the Faculty of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences. Mr. Deputy Chancellor, graduates from the Faculty of Science will be presented to you by Associate Professor Dr. Emily Goh, Head of the School of Science, Monash University, Malaysia.
Mr. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you graduates from the Faculty of Science who have been admitted to the following degrees and awarded the following diplomas today. Faculty of Science, Bachelor of Food Science and Technology, Damayanti Arumugam. Chai Woon Yao. Yoon Eun Chia. Chin Jo Yi. Chung Ka Yen. Chua Xiang Yi. Chong Pui Ting. Felix Jensen Tanjaya, Sonia G. Sin Fu, Sir Amelia Gunn, Gui Mei Lin, Kate Jai-yun, Amanda Hui Shin Lau, Benjamin Lee Wen Yang, Bunjen Lee, overall best graduate in the course for the degree of Bachelor of Food Science and Technology, Ms. Lily. Michelle Lee Mei Yi, Sean Chung Lin Lee, Lim Yi Xuan, Eng Xiao Hong, Priscilla Ngan Ke Han, Sean Pan Xiao Chen, Sun Zhipeng, Tong Xiu Hua, Olivia Renita Rianto, Yo Hui Wen. Bachelor of Medical Bioscience, Anwar Yusuf Abdullahi. Melissa Breeze Milat binti Adam Muhammad. Sarah Azim. Waruni Prabhashini Piasine Badula Kahamula Wategedara. Xin Yibe. Bet Leling. Jing Shen Chu. Chin Min Ming. Chong Jing Hui. Jun Hong Chua. Sorry. Gan Sunbi, Michelle Claire Gubler, Alifia Hanifa, Jia Jin Hu, Hui Jing Hong, Hao Yanxiang, Tete Luin, Famida Islam, Gaganjit Kaur, Q Dixon, Wan Ting Ko, Hui Shilo, Phoebe Lee Ernie, Winnie Lee, Wenjun Lee, Anthony Liu Kin Yip, Su Pin Lim, Lim Wei Ning, Lim Yuan Ting, Lai Jia Yuan, Shabelle Rachel Morera, Mariam Niaz, Girindran Palani, Cheng Yen Pang, Daryl Kwek Junhao, Asma Said, Suk Ying Sir, Ernest Siu Eun Yang, Melissa Phil Yuen Hui So, So Hui Ying, Bao So, Vidya Nilakshi Vijingsihe, Winnie Stephanie, overall best graduate in the course for the degree of Bachelor of Medical Bioscience, Ms. Wong Bao Chi. Wong Jiafei, Lilin Wong, Nurul Nadia Yahya, Bachelor of Science, Vaishnavi Anata Mogan. Dorothy Ang Po Chu, Yini Chen, Ambrose Chin Zi En, Chong Xin Yu, Celine Chu Hui Yuan, overall best graduate in the course for the degree of Bachelor of Science, Ms. Chu En. Divya Delila Clarence, Gan Po Jo, Santhini Amaya Hathurusinghe Arashige, Jenny Wing Yen Hyo, Sabrina Ho Yet Kwan, Prasad Jayakumar, Chuan Zhang Li, Lee Han Bin, Jonathan Levins, Cheyenne Lim, Tharishini M. Ramachandran, Hamsan Muthaya, Ong Su Shan, Satyabama Rajakumar, Taneswari Sethupati, Brian Tien Ka Ho, Bachelor of Science Honours, Nafisa Tabassum. Bachelor of Science Food Science and Technology, Chia Jin Xian. Edric Ramawi, Master of Science, Jaya Shalini Jayaraj. Doctor of Philosophy for research title Driving and Riding Amongst the Elderly in Malaysia, Determinant Factors of Driving or Riding Reduction and Cessation, Dr. Ang Boon Hong. For research title, Infection Dynamics of Dengue Virus in the Mosquito Vector Aedes aegypti, Dr. Cassandra. For research title, Toxicity and Anti-Proliferative Effects of Peptidyl Chloromethyl Ketones in Jurkat T Cells, Dr. Cheong Poi Yi. For research title, Role of RAC-A in Enterococcus faecalis, Dr. Chua Liani. For research title, Development of Palm Olein-based Organogel Fortified with Bioactive Compounds, Dr. Gan Xie Yi. For research title, The Ecology of Aquatic Invertebrates in Malaysian Tropical Peat Swamps, Dr. Vishalini Gobi. For research titled Bioprospecting Metal-Tolerant Endophytes for Plant Growth and Ganoderma Control in All Palm Under Metal Stress, Dr. Carrie Siu Fang Sim. Mr. Deputy Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of graduates from the Faculty of Science.
Well, congratulations to everyone. Well done. We now come to the graduation address, and it gives us the opportunity to hear from a very distinguished member of this community. And we are so fortunate today that the address will be delivered by Dato Dr. Rosalie Watooth. Dato Rosalie graduated with a Bachelor of Medicine, Bachelor of Surgery from Monash University, Clayton, in 1974. After completing his internship at the Kuala Lumpur General Hospital, he returned to Australia to undergo rotational basic surgical training at the Royal Hobart Hospital, the University of Tasmania's main teaching hospital. He then completed a 4-year advanced surgical training in cardiothoracic surgery at Royal Prince Alfred Hospital, and then at the Royal Alexandra Hospital for Children in Sydney, and they are that city's main teaching hospitals. He obtained a fellowship with the Royal Australasian College of Surgeons in cardiothoracic surgery in 1981. Dato Rosalie returned to Malaysia in 1982 as lead member and the only surgeon of a pioneering open heart team, and was appointed as founding head and consultant cardiothoracic surgeon at the newly established department within the Kuala Lumpur General Hospital. Remarkably, by then he was only 32 years of age. The cardiothoracic surgical service complemented that started in 1977 by a Monash alumnus and consultant cardiologist, the late Datuk Dr. Nick Zinal. The team performed surgeries on adults and children for congenital and acquired cardiac conditions, and with very credible results. After just 6 months of service, Dato Rosalie and his team successfully performed the first coronary artery bypass surgery in Malaysia. An operation until then was only available abroad to so few Malaysians. And today, it is the most common heart surgery performed in your country. In 1985, he joined the newly opened Subang Jaya Medical Centre to set up the first private open heart surgical service in Malaysia, and was at the same time appointed Chief of Surgery at that hospital in its commissioning phase, and again then was only 35. In 2006, he was appointed a member of the Board of Directors of the National Heart Institute. Outside of work, and no doubt his hours are long, he enjoys spending time with his family and, it says here, his beloved grandchildren, one of whom I met, and he was a remarkable young 6, almost 7-year-old. So with that very brief introduction, it's my pleasure to introduce the graduation address speaker, Dato Rosalie.
the Honorable Peter Young, Deputy Chancellor, Monash University, Professor Margaret Gardner, Vice Chancellor, Monash University, Professor Andrew Walker, President and Pro-Vice Chancellor, Monash University, Malaysia, distinguished faculty members, graduates, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, my very good afternoon to everyone. To the graduates and their families, your long-awaited day is finally here, and congratulations. To Monash University, Malaysia, as a Monash alumnus, I am deeply honored for the privilege of delivering this graduation address today. While preparing for this speech, I was trying to remember what was going through my own mind on my graduation day. To be perfectly honest, as it was such a long time ago, apart from memories through some old photographs, I could not remember much. But I probably did have a sense of something having ended and something new was about to begin. And I suspect there was some joy, some relief, and apprehension as well, all rolled in one. Joy because graduation symbolized an achievement of meeting certain standards imposed directly by the university and indirectly by society. Relief because I fulfilled a significant portion of my obligations to my sponsors and to my family, and also some apprehension because I felt that the expectations and responsibilities as a student and as a working member of society, particularly those impacting directly on the lives of others, would change dramatically over the coming days, months, and years. I guess those graduating today will have their own thoughts and feelings. And I also guess that some thoughts and feelings would be posted in their Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter accounts when they settle down to pen them later today. Now, quite a lot has happened since my own graduation 45 years ago. And today I would like to take the opportunity to tell 4 short stories about my own youth. Not that kind of youth or stories. The stories are not just about the trials and tribulations that I went through in my youth, but also about the wisdom, generosity, and kindness of others who impacted my life along the way. Coincidentally, having spent a total of 12 formative years of my life in Australia, the stories have quite a lot to do with Monash, Australia, and Australians. To the graduates, I will leave it to you to draw whatever you may wish from these stories. Story number 1. Straight after graduation, I returned to Malaysia to do my internship or housemanship, as we call it here. Fortunately, unlike nowadays, Malaysia was short of doctors then. I started my first posting just 3 weeks after graduation in obstetrics and gynecology at the General Hospital, Kuala Lumpur. On the first day, as I was introducing myself, the labor room sister in charge asked if I was the new houseman. When I nodded, she dragged me into one of the labor cubicles, and the subsequent conversation went something like this. This woman inside has just delivered a baby, and she has a retained placenta that requires manual removal. She asked me to get ready and get going. I said, but I have never done one. She said, everyone else is busy. So I asked, who would supervise me? She replied, she would. At that point, I remembered someone somewhere describing manual removal of a retained placenta as the loneliest feeling in obstetrics, because nobody can see or tell what your hand is doing inside a soft and uncontracted uterus through which your hand could easily go through and end up in the peritoneal cavity with dire consequences. Those were the days before serious credentialing and privileging in clinical practice. To cut the story short, the sister in charge guided me through, I'm proud to say, a successful and morale-boosting first obstetric procedure I did as a newly qualified doctor, and the patient recovered uneventfully. I enjoyed my 6 hectic months of obstetrics and gynecology, and the main reason I enjoyed the work was because I was part of a wonderful team comprising hardworking, friendly, and above all, considerate colleagues as well as bosses. On the last day of my obstetrics posting, during a farewell Saturday lunch, the head of department, an Australian-trained obstetrician, announced that I had set a new departmental record for having done the most number of cesarean sections as an intern, totaling 16, including a repeat section, which he said was more than he had done as a registrar during his training at the then defunct Crown Street Hospital in Sydney. Now, at that point, I did consider obstetrics and gynecology as a future field of specialization. Now, why am I telling you this story? Firstly, pertaining to the retained placenta episode, many times in our lives, we will find ourselves learning and benefiting from people deemed to have lower formal qualifications than us, but richer in real-life practical knowledge and experience. Sometimes we learn a lot more from them than from textbooks and lectures. And I think it is perhaps worth noting that Monash's motto, Ancora Imparo, I am still learning, does not distinguish from whom we may learn. Secondly, a good start in anything often helps. But as another story afterwards will show, don't despair easily if it does not. Thirdly, for the medical graduates specifically, worry not if you have no clue what you will end up doing after graduation. The books and lessons you've had have only given you a glimpse of medicine. It is a wide, wide world out there, and you will only really find out after you have experienced the aspects of medicine that you really like and love, and aspects you may not. Now I come to story number 2. By the time I completed my housemanship at the General Hospital, Kuala Lumpur, I had decided on 2 things. One, I wanted to do surgery, and secondly, I would like to do my surgical training back in Australia, as I preferred a more structured training program. There were, however, administrative and logistical difficulties with that plan, largely because I was bonded for my undergraduate scholarship, and for that, the Australian government would not give me a working visa, even though I had secured a basic surgical training post at the Royal Hobart Hospital. Good fortune was, however, on my side. Royal Hobart Hospital kept the post vacant for me for more than 3 months, and while they pushed for my visa from their end. And I felt like a real VIP when I arrived in April 1976 to be picked up at the Hobart Airport by no less than the Deputy Medical Superintendent himself, Dr. Dick Butfield. I was again very fortunate to have had wonderful mentors and enjoyable people to work with in Hobart. It was during that 2-year rotating surgical program that I developed a real interest in cardiothoracic surgery as a subspecialty. The interest, however, was tinged with considerable apprehension. Having just completed my internship at the largest hospital in the country, and knowing how the system worked, I was not very optimistic that there were enough resources to support cardiothoracic surgery back home then. Although sporadic heart surgery was being done then at the University of Malaya Teaching Hospital in Kuala Lumpur, it understandably represented a very small portion of the hospital's surgical workload. Furthermore, even the sister medical subspecialty of cardiology was grossly underdeveloped in the country. I pondered for some time, but as time was running out, I threw caution to the wind and decided to follow my heart. I decided to proceed and apply for advanced training posts in cardiothoracic surgery all over Australia. Now, why am I telling you this second story? Firstly, the story showed that I was a very stubborn and sometimes not necessarily a very rational man in my youth. But I'm proud to say, and my wife sitting over there, who has known me for more than 50 years, will bear witness that I'm a little less so nowadays. Secondly, luck and fate sometimes become intertwined. The other two stories that I'm about to tell you would not have happened if it had not been for Dick Butfield, who personally pushed for my visa, enabling me back in Australia. And he did all that when all he knew about me was only what was on paper. But that was not unusual for Dick Butfield. He was not only a big man physically, but also one with a big heart. He unsurprisingly later became a very prominent and revered figure in Tasmania with a research fellowship and a regional library named after him. Thirdly, the story was also about risk-taking. All I can say in retrospect, taking risks was easier during youth when pessimism did not feature much in our vocabulary. Story number 3. This is actually about Australia and Australians and how they affected my career and my life. When I applied for advanced training jobs in cardiothoracic surgery, there were 22 posts in Australia and New Zealand recognized by the Australasian College of Surgeons. I was very fortunate to secure 3 offers, 1 in Melbourne at the Alfred Hospital and 2 in Sydney. Excuse me, can I have a bit of water, please? It's a bit dry. I decided on Sydney because the program started in January, soon after I finished at the Royal Hobart Hospital. Thank you. Thank you. I was saying that I decided on the Sydney program because it started soon after I finished at the Royal Hobart Hospital, whereas the Victorian program started at the end of February each year. While I was exposed to Melbourne's Alfred Hospital as an undergraduate, I was not familiar with the Sydney surgical scene. So I consulted the supervisor of surgical training at the Royal Hobart Hospital, Mr. Barry Edwards, who happened to be a University of Sydney graduate, and he also trained in general surgery at the Royal Prince Alfred Hospital, which is Sydney University's main teaching hospital and one of the 2 Sydney hospitals I had offered from. Essentially, his narrative was something like this. He said if I wanted a nice boss in not so busy a unit that gives what the current generation would refer to as a good work-life balance, then choose Royal North Shore Hospital. On the other hand, if I wanted to be exposed to the full spectrum of cardiothoracic and vascular surgery at what was probably one of, if not the most busiest hospital or heart unit in Australia, then go to the Royal Prince Alfred Hospital. But, he said, be prepared to work for very difficult bosses there. Putting priority on quality training, even if it meant having to put up with so-called difficult personalities, I decided on Royal Prince Alfred Hospital. Unfortunately, Barry Edwards was not exaggerating. From day one, when I reported for work, I had great difficulty coping with my bosses, and the atmosphere there was tense. And the workload was indeed heavy. It is no exaggeration when I say that I slogged like I never slogged before. In the first 9 months, I did not eat properly, and I could not sleep properly. And I rapidly lost several kilograms in weight. I would start work just after 6 a.m. each day, and very seldom would get home before 10 p.m. at night, even when I was not on call. Every third day, while on call, my day would start at about 6 a.m. as usual, and I would not get home until after 10 p.m. the next day, often with very little rest or sleep in between. And in between, I was also expected to study during my nights off. Now, the training job scene in Australia then was one where there were one-year contracts, and the trainee was at the mercy of his or her bosses in securing subsequent training jobs, either at the same hospital or elsewhere in Australia. With the way things were going, seemingly unable to be on the good side of my bosses, I was beginning to feel that my career in cardiothoracic surgery would more likely than not come to an end by the end of 1978. At the end of October that year, the then head of department, Mr. Sandy Grant, called me to his office, and I remember it being a very brief meeting. He asked what plans I had for 1979. I replied I had not made any. His question was short. Would I like to stay at Royal Prince Alfred? I remember that all I could do was just nod my head and say, "Thank you, sir." He shook my hand and he left the office. After that, I walked straight to the nearby doctor's on-call room to be on my own for a moment. I'm not ashamed to admit today that in that room, I sat down, buried my face in my hands, and I had a good sob. It was a sense of relief beyond belief that I have never forgotten to this day. And after that day, for the next 3 years, until the very day that I finished my cardiothoracic training at the end of 1981, I never, ever had to apply for another job. All were arranged by my bosses at the Royal Prince Alfred Hospital and the Royal Alexandra Hospital for Children. In fact, by mid-1980, one of them, Professor Douglas Baird, indicated that without my knowledge, he had made preliminary arrangements with Professor Dwight Magoon, the head of cardiothoracic surgery at Mayo Clinic in the US, where he himself had trained, about accepting me into their program in 1982 after completing my Australasian fellowship. As I will mention in my next and last story, that job was something I had to forgo when I decided to come home to Malaysia. Now, why am I telling you this story? Firstly, sometimes bad impressions are wrong, and not all things that start badly will end badly. Secondly, when someone says, "When the going's tough, only the tough gets going," I knew what that meant because I experienced it firsthand, even though that time I had no idea for how long I could keep going. Thirdly, cardiothoracic surgery is a tough vocation, and my own mentors in Sydney were involved in it during its pioneering days. I suspect they too went through hell coping with their own training programs with mentors who themselves were at the time experimenting with new techniques often with uncertain outcomes. Perhaps in retrospect, my bosses wanted to find out early in the piece that whoever decided to train had the resolve to put up with a different kind of work pressure compared to other disciplines. No, I think it is not perhaps, because when it was my turn to choose who to train, I too was looking for candidates who could withstand working under tough conditions with exacting demands. I only hope that they have not judged me too harshly, and perhaps they too would understand when it was their turn to train others. I have a bit more to tell about Australians in my next and final story. This is story number 4. This last story is about destiny, about Monash, and again about Australians. Unbeknown to me, at a time when I was applying for training jobs in cardiothoracic surgery, another Monash graduate of 1963 to 1968 vintage, exactly 6 years my senior, Dr. Nick Zainal, completed his training in cardiology at the St. Mary's Hospital in London, and he started work at the General Hospital, Kuala Lumpur, in 1977. He struggled politically to get the subspecialty going at first, but within a short space of 2 years, he was getting cardiology referrals from all over the country, including from East Malaysia. The service shortfall, however, was cardiac surgery for his patients who would have benefited from surgical treatment. A limited few were sent abroad, either through government sponsorship for public servants or through public donations for some others. Frequent appeals for funds and incessant queries by the opposition political parties about the lack of local cardiac surgical facilities were piling pressure on the ruling government. By chance, during a short holiday back in Malaysia in June 1980, Dr. Nick Zainal and I met. At this stage, I had just completed 1.5 years of cardiothoracic surgical training in Sydney. Among the first questions he asked was if I intended to return to Malaysia upon completion of my training. I mentioned that I had been getting very vague responses to my earlier inquiries with the Malaysian authorities. Literally, over the next 2 days, both of us met the then Minister of Health, and being under pressure himself, he seemed keen on a quick solution to the problem. Nick explained to me that it wasn't that there weren't people sent for training before, but the training programs were haphazard. A surgeon would be sent to an overseas center, and a nurse or technician sent to another. And when they returned, they were posted to different hospitals or services, never practicing what they were trained to do, except sometimes in the animal labs. Having evaluated the history of the previous efforts and their outcomes, at that meeting with the minister, I made a proposal for something that had never been done before for the medical services in the country. And that was for the Ministry of Health to send a supporting team to the same hospitals in Sydney during the final phase of my own surgical training and bring back the entire team simultaneously to kickstart the program. In other words, we were about to do it in the form of direct transfer technology. A flurry of activities followed with government-to-government negotiations. A year after my initial meeting with Dr. Nick Zainal in June 1981, a team of 8 who had never seen or been involved in heart surgery before in their lives arrived in Sydney. It comprised a senior anesthetist, a medical officer, a theatre nurse, 2 intensive care nurses, 2 hospital assistants or male nurses, who would train as heart, lung, or pump technicians, and finally a laboratory technician. They underwent training by the Australians at the Royal Prince Alfred and the Royal Alexandra Hospitals. And during weekends, when I was not on call, we would meet among ourselves at our hospital flat and go over and over the materials that everyone had been taught during the week. At the same time, we would also be compiling and submitting requests for equipment and supplies that we would need when we returned to Malaysia. The team of 8 was in Sydney for a period varying between 6 to 8 months. Towards the end of training in late 1981, the typical scenario would be one where I would be operating, assisted by our Malaysian medical officer, with a Malaysian theatre scrub nurse handling surgical instruments, with anesthesia given to the patient by our Malaysian anesthetist, and the heart-lung machine being operated by our Malaysian pump technicians. The Australian surgeons would be in the tea room in case we needed them. When the patients were sent to the intensive care unit after surgery, our Malaysian intensive care nurses would be looking after them under supervision of the senior Australian nurses. The entire team reassembled in Kuala Lumpur by the end of February 1982. Barely 5 weeks later, on 6th April 1982, the team performed the first open heart operation at the newly established and the first surgical unit dedicated for heart surgery in the country at the General Hospital, Kuala Lumpur. Surgeries were performed on infants, children, and adults for both congenital and adult heart diseases, as well as for lung and various vascular conditions. 6 months after commissioning, as mentioned earlier, the team performed the first coronary artery bypass surgery in the country. During the first 21 months between April 1982 to December 1983, the team performed a total of 651 operations. Of these, 308 were open heart surgeries with an overall survival rate of 98.7%. Our Australian mentors in Sydney were so proud of their role in the venture and our results that they arranged for me to present the history of this venture and our surgical results at the annual scientific meeting of the Royal Australasian College of Surgeons in Hong Kong in mid-1983. Although the department managed to stem the outflow of patients needing surgery abroad initially, in a way it became a victim of its own success. As public confidence grew, its referral base also grew rapidly, putting great strains on the surgical waiting list and the limited available resources. So why am I telling you this last story? The story is about the importance of focus, single-mindedness, discipline, dedication, and most important of all, teamwork. It shows that when a team, irrespective of background, is in unison, with an unwavering sense of purpose, the chances of converting the impossible into the possible are not beyond reach. I remembered often the mantra of my mentor in pediatric cardiac surgery, the internationally renowned cardiac surgeon, Mr. Tim Cartmill, who said, "The chain is only as strong as the weakest link." The team worked hard at developing our strengths, and whenever we identified weaknesses, we dealt with them together and swiftly. Fortunately also, personal egos did not feature significantly in what we were doing. We understood clearly what a strong beginning was and how essential it was to instill public confidence. Literally, the whole country had its eyes on our small team then, and there was considerable press coverage of our activities. Was there pressure, you may ask? Absolutely, and a lot of it. But we had the benefit of youth and also the solid training by our Australian mentors. So this story is also about the strong support, friendship, and generosity of Australia and Australians. Apart from the support given during team training, in Sydney, the Australian support continued even after we left. When the team commenced surgery in April 1982, a senior cardiothoracic surgeon, Mr. Bruce Lackey, and head of cardiothoracic anesthesia, Dr. Brian Clark, were in Kuala Lumpur for the whole 1 month to help us kick off the program. Both were provided only return airfares, food, and lodging. What was more amazing was that they actually refused compensation for lost income for the 1 month spent in Malaysia without their families. Subsequent to the pioneering group, many more Malaysian surgeons, anesthetists, nurses, technicians, and physiotherapists were trained at the two hospitals. I also said that this story is also a Monash story. The cardiology services at the Kuala Lumpur General Hospital was initiated and driven by Dr. Nick Zainal, and the cardiothoracic surgery by me, both Monash graduates of different vintage. When I left the department in 1985, it was taken over by a fellow Monash classmate of mine, Dr. Yahya Wang, who returned from his training in the United Kingdom at the end of 1983. In 1992, when services at the Kuala Lumpur General Hospital moved to the newly built National Heart Institute, Yahya was the head of cardiothoracic surgery, and amazingly, another Monash graduate of 1975 to 1980, Dr. Muhammad Hassan, was appointed the head of cardiothoracic anesthesia. Dr. Hassan too trained in cardiothoracic anesthesia at the same two Sydney hospitals where the original team had trained. Both Monash graduates also led the team that did the first heart transplant in the country in 1998. It is probably not inaccurate to say that most of the open heart units found all over the country today had roots that could be traced to the original small team that trained in Sydney. Monash graduates certainly have had a pioneering and pivotal role in the development of cardiology, cardiothoracic surgery, and cardiothoracic anesthesia in Malaysia. Whilst my speech today dealt mainly with medicine and cardiothoracic surgery, I hope within the stories, the non-medical graduates may also see aspects relevant to their future well-being, especially about dedication, teamwork, friendship, and humanity. The degrees you receive today only serves as a reminder of a good place you have been, and they hopefully will guide you to better places wherever you intend going next. Last and certainly not least, through the stories, I would like, on behalf of Malaysia and Malaysians, acknowledge the kindness and generosity of Australia and Australians that have had a massive impact on Malaysians, especially the heart patients. Now, my sincere apologies for going over time, and I'll finish here by saying congratulations once again to the graduates, and my best wishes to all of you for a wonderful future. Thank you.
Well, it falls to me on behalf of graduates and their families here today to thank Dr. Razak for that graduation address. First, it's clear how much time, effort and thought he put into it. And for that, thank you, the 4 stories and the lessons to be learnt. But secondly, I couldn't help but think and reflect on what a magnificent career as a practitioner, as a surgeon, and in particular, he's given his life and continues to do so to the people of Malaysia, to saving, to improving their lives, the standard he sets, the way he must teach others, and his devotion to his career, but particularly, I think, as an outsider, to Malaysia and to Malaysians. I think it was a magnificent inspiration to everyone. And also for the career that he had in Australia, the learning, I'm delighted he enjoyed it. I'm delighted Monash played such a significant role. And I wish you many, many future successful years in work and in life and with your grandchildren. Thank you on behalf of all of us. So now we come to what is the conclusion of this graduation ceremony, and then thereafter your celebrations. So the graduates, as you leave this ceremony today, do remember that you are not leaving Monash, no matter where you may work or where you may be located. As an alumni of Monash, you are joined to this university and to each other by a link that we hope you will strongly maintain. There is in your copy of the graduation program a link to the alumni group, and we do ask you to share that and to use alumni, to meet alumni, and to better your careers by keeping contact with fellow alumni. In congratulating each of you upon your achievements, I particularly want to take this opportunity to acknowledge the contribution that your lecturers, supervisors, tutors, professorial staff, and all at the university have made in ensuring your presence here today, your graduation. It's not always possible to give proper and public recognition to their hard work and to their dedication to students. But if we can take this opportunity, I would ask you now, by a round of applause, to show your appreciation of them. I know also that university study is not easy. You've had many years of research and learning, coping with stresses of examinations, assignments, and many of you will have combined outside work and family of necessity. Throughout this time, you were encouraged and supported by your parents, your husbands, wives, partners, or other important persons, your brothers, sisters, guardians, friends. It's become a tradition at Monash that we invite the graduates to acknowledge all of those important others in their lives. Some of them are here today. I would ask if you would all stand and turn and face those who have come with you, and also recognise your colleagues who studied with you, and by a round of applause express your appreciation for them. Thank you. So in conclusion, I cordially invite everyone to continue the celebration by adjourning to the Grand Forum on level 10. I asked graduates if they would follow the procession out as the official party leaves. Please follow us. And for the general audience to remain seated until the graduates have passed and have left the auditorium. So that's the end of the formal ceremony. Congratulations, you've worked hard, you enjoy success, enjoy tonight, enjoy your celebrations. Well done.